In today's video, we're going to do some film photography around Red Hook, Brooklyn, and pretty much just search for beauty in the mundane. I enjoy a lot of different styles of photography other than just street photography. One of these genres that I fell in love with the last couple of years is this like ordinary, everyday still life scenes. Some people might find it boring or may not understand it, but I've really fallen in love with it, and I like to just call it beauty in the mundane. I was inspired to start seeing this way by masters of photography who truly were on the forefront of pushing color into an accepted medium back in the day. One of these photographers was William Eggleston. He was a master at capturing ordinary, everyday still life and making it something extraordinary. A lot of photographers who have inspired me kind of have a similar story, such as Stephen Shore. Another person who's truly inspired me is Ernst Haas. I think about his work every single day. He's changed the way I see the world, and whenever I'm out, I'm always kind of searching for these abstract takes on things just because of the books I've studied of his. Two other photographers who changed the way I see things, mainly because of their use of color, is Herzog and Gruyaert. Ernst Haas once said, "I am not interested in shooting new things, I am interested to see things new." I think that's so important, and some of my favorite photos to date have been of things that I might see every single day, but have never thought twice about it until a photographer showed me a new perspective on it. Once you start to appreciate the small things and to see beauty in everyday life, it can make every photo walk more enjoyable. Whether you're having a bad day on the streets from being timid or just not seeing anything that day, this kind of adds a new filter for your eyes to always be looking for. I shoot film a lot slower and differently than I shoot digital photography, so this genre is perfect for me to slow down and take my time with each exposure. Also, Red Hook is a perfect neighborhood because it's a lot more slow-paced and relaxed than a lot of New York City. Red Hook is located in western Brooklyn on a peninsula, and it kind of has that chill, relaxed seaside vibe to it. It's kind of hard to get to because there's no direct subway route there. If you take the train there, it's like a 20 or 30-minute walk. You can take the ferry like I did at the start of the video, or you can take the bus, but due to the lack of transportation, this place isn't as developed yet, and you can still find a lot of remnants of like an older New York. It also seems to have this like quirky side, and every time I go there, I find something new and strange, and I love it. Anyways, that's enough talking for now. Let's get to the photos. For these outings, I shot Portra 400, Portra 800, and one roll of Ilford HP5 black and white film. As for the camera, I'm using a Leica. Just kidding, I wish I had a Leica, but I have a Canon EOS 300. It's a really cheap $30 to $50 camera that I found on eBay. I kind of like it though, I think it's underrated. It's a good starter camera. It was made in 1999, so it has a bit of modern tech, but yet it's a film SLR. So it's serving me well, and hopefully I can prove that gear doesn't matter as much as the photos in this video. As for the lenses, I shot most of these photos with a Canon EF 28mm, and I believe a few were shot in this lightweight, small pancake 40mm Canon lens. So for some reason, there's always like a ton of old vintage cars parked around Red Hook. I'm not sure why, but it's amazing. Like, you never know it's around the corner, and it's perfect for all the industrial gritty backdrops you find around the neighborhood. This cafe was one of my favorite scenes that I came across while exploring Red Hook. Seeing this brown paper with blue tape against the windows reminded me of this old Ernst Haas photo that I've always loved. I thank him for being able to even notice something like this, because before looking at his work, I don't think I would ever care about a piece of tape or paper on a window. But I found this scene truly fascinating, and I worked this scene for like 10 or 15 minutes while everyone stared at me from a bar across the street wondering, what the hell is this guy doing? I also like this texture above the paper on the window and how the clouds were reflecting so clearly. This resulted in my favorite 2 photos of the day. This is my favorite part of Red Hook. It's pretty much just this deserted area full of empty fields and vacant lots that are fenced up. The skyline looms over it if you're standing in the right spot, and you just don't see stuff like this very often in New York anymore. One time I went, there was a ton of overgrowth and all these tall weeds, and then the next time I came, all those weeds were gone, but there was this giant cruise ship parked there, which was amazing. I thought this cruise ship kind of added this extra edge to the photo, and I've never seen that before in probably like my 10 times I've been to Red Hook. I also make sure to document this area because I feel like it's bound to change anytime. New York City real estate is so valuable, and so much of the Brooklyn waterfront has already been turned to high-rises and condos and just been redeveloped. So I'm super surprised that this area in Red Hook is still so desolate, and I feel like in 20 to 30 years, or maybe even 5 years, who knows, these photos can look just as nostalgic as the way we look at the 70s and 80s when you see all those bombed out abandoned lots back in the Lower East Side and whatnot. I'm not exactly sure what happened to this trolley, but I can't say I'm mad about it. I remember seeing it in like 2018 and 2019 in photos on Instagram, and it was still pristine. So I like graffiti, and I actually started photography by exploring abandoned buildings. So this kind of took me back to the beginning and the early days of my photography journey. The last roll of film I shot in Red Hook was the HP5, the black and white film, and I went back to the waterfront area in my favorite spot with the empty field and the fenced up lots and whatnot. The cruise ship was gone by the time I got back, but I had some fun working these fences and finding different compositions. To be honest, this can be just as fun as me discovering a street moment, just finding these new compositions within these fences. I love how these turned out. The black and white and the grain make it look so moody, even though it was golden hour during sunset. So as you can see, Red Hook has a lot of potential for photography, and I highly recommend it whether you live in New York or you're visiting to explore this area with your camera. Whether you take the train or the ferry, I also suggest shooting some photos in the surrounding neighborhoods on your commute. If you get off the train, you're going to be in Gowanus, and that's another fun place to explore. It's very industrial. I have a few photos from my commute that I'll put on the screen now. Also, Carroll Gardens is next to Red Hook, another neighborhood I highly recommend to check out. It's got a lot of old-timey storefronts and overall just good vibes. I don't have any photos or video from it yet, but I hope to do kind of like a continuing series on this neighborhoods and kind of like off the beaten path around New York. So that is it for my Red Hook segment of the video, and I just kind of wanted to quickly wrap up here and give a bit of a channel update. It's been a while since I uploaded last, and to be honest, it's been a bit of a struggle to stay consistent on here. In May, I got a new apartment, which has been great, but it took me a little while to get set up. I furnished the whole place from nothing, so that took a little bit. I am super excited to have a place to film now and kind of upgrade my video production. It's a lot easier than having a small bedroom with 3 roommates like my previous setup. So in June, I was pretty busy with client work. I actually got my first commercial travel gig, so that was really exciting. I got to go to Hawaii, Las Vegas, and outside of Houston, Texas. So that pretty much took me out for like 3 weeks, and I wasn't really able to shoot for myself except for a few days in Hawaii, which I did get some cool photos, which I'll put on the screen. Was super excited about that, but overall, you know, these are just excuses. Like, I have plenty of time. I had plenty of time in July to film YouTube videos. I'm always out on the New York City streets with my camera, but to be honest, I've just been super focused on photography, I guess, and it takes me so long to get a photo that I'm proud of, yet alone make a video that I'm proud of. So I guess video and YouTube just kind of sat on the back burner. So honestly, I feel like I set the bar too high for myself with that first Japan video. I did not expect that to pop off the way it did. I didn't think anyone would watch a 30-minute video on YouTube, and now I'm just in my head about creating stuff on that level all the time. You know, when I was in Japan, everything was so new and exciting. I had no problem finding stuff to film. I had a set timeline, 30 days. I filmed day and night, and I guess I'm just having problems seeing New York in the same way. It might sound crazy because I live in like one of the street capitals of the world, but after obsessively shooting in New York for like 5 years, it's really hard for me to see things fresh and new like that. And a lot of what I do in New York, I shoot a lot different than I did in Japan. In Japan, I was more like composition focused and camping. In New York, stuff happens a lot quicker and spontaneous. So, you know, the way I did in Japan of just shooting random photos and random B-roll and finding a way to make it all work has not been working in New York City. So that's why I made this Red Hook video, because I needed to set a theme and execute it and just focus on one neighborhood. I only shot in Red Hook for 3 days and made this video on it. So that was a lot easier approach than just running around New York filming a ton. And I have been filming a ton and shooting a lot in New York, but I don't know how any of it pieces together still. But I think I just need to get organized and do less run and gun and just, you know, free for all, and actually have a plan. Make a shot list, go out, and get used to the fact that I'm gonna have to sacrifice some photo making time for some video making time, because right now I'm so focused on street photography, and overall I want to be a street photographer over like a cinematographer, but I'm realizing that I'm gonna have to sacrifice some of that time that I use for photos if I want to make this channel work, and I really do. So hopefully I can get my stuff together and be posting more consistently. I'm hoping to do bi-monthly or maybe like at the worst monthly. So we'll see how that goes. I appreciate all of you for watching. If you made it this far, appreciate you for coming back. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon at the next one.